All right, we're going to replace the compressor in this unit. It's a industrial application or commercial application, but the serial number, look at that, 2019, December of 2019. And we came out like the first week in January, and this compressor was bad. I pleaded with Johnstone to give me to warranty it, but they said no. And I even tried to see if they had the receipt for this thing was installed, to see if they would just go 5 years from the install date, but this company couldn't find the receipt where this was installed. So we ended up having to buy the compressor, but that's okay. I'm gonna take this unit apart, get to that compressor. Let's get all that leaf debris out of here. Clean it up nice and pretty for our new compressor. Alright, so here's the old compressor. I cleaned a lot of this garbage out. I'm going to try to clean out a little bit more, but I don't have a water hose, so this is close to what it's going to be. I'm going to, of course, get some of that bigger debris out, but it's a lot better than it has been, and it's not going to rust out the accumulator now. So this one right here, I'm just going to cut as close to the compressor I can, and for the 3/4 inch line, I'm going to try to unbraze that, unsweat that right there, just because it's so close to this true suction. Put some constant pressure on it. Just slight pressure, it's okay. Keep on. You're good. Wow. That's good stuff. All right. Shoot. Oh, does it resolder itself on the side? Dang it. There it goes. Dang it. That's unfortunate. Well, the pipe's all pulled out. Get the channel locks too. I'm gonna swage it. Well, no, I can't swage that end. So here's the dilemma. When we unsoldered that, we just set that right next to the compressor, and it soldered itself to the compressor. So now we have this little oblong end. What I'm going to try to do just swage it out of it. Of course, I can't use a 3/4 inch swager because that would be insane. I gotta put that inside the compressor. But what I'm hoping is I can use a 5/8 swager, and then we should be golden. That straightened it out a pretty good bit. But not perfect. Actually, what I'm going to do is I am going to not swage it, but I'm going to flare it. Then I think I can get a grip with my cutters and cut it short without cutting too much off of it. Now, this does seem a little bit crazy, but I think it might work. Because now, I only did that rounded out just a little bit, where it should be. I should be able to put that flare in that groove right there and be fine to cut. Dang it. That did not go as planned. Getting worse here instead of better. Man, this was a simple, easy solder off too. Man, just had to let it touch the compressor, didn't I? And that's gonna be super close to that. That's gonna be hard to solder in. I'm gonna have to heat it up just so it go in. Let me get a brush. That's gonna be difficult. That one. Rubbers fell off. So, what I like to do is take my nitrogen and flush it through this pipe before I ever connect it to the compressor, just to make sure, because it's hard to, you can't really flow through a compressor. So I'm going to take nitrogen, turn it on, and run it through both lines. Flushing them both out. And all the air out of the lines. Okay. Because as soon as I take this plug out, I want to connect it. But any nitrogen they put in here from the factory, yep, they do. And put that together. Now, instead of that being air in there, that's nitrogen. It's going to be difficult for the air to get back in there. And I'm gonna have to heat that up. I don't like that, because that means, oh shoot, I'm gonna get this top in first. Fingers crossed, that top one should be easy. Suck that solder into the bell. I'm probably good where I'm at right now, but I can't ever leave good enough alone. For the extra, I want to keep going until it looks real. Oh no! Yeah, see what I mean? I can't leave good enough alone. Let me remelt that solder I have on there. Now I've been soldering for way too long. I'm gonna let that cure for a second before I take my hand off of it. I don't need to back off. And we should be good. Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. Factory solder right there. Now,
Better than factory.
that's right. That's smooth right there.
Smooth.
Well, this one is going to.
They might do that one. They might wrestling and give them a contract.
I know they're going to book you, man. And who's that on that video? Whew, you got a voice of an angel.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to grab right here and work that solder in. But boy, that's top solder. There we go. Rolling.
Camera action.
See that? That's the HVAC technician right here.
Put in there like a glove.
That's it. For now. It's time to check with nitro.
Nitro.
Talk about professional. All right, guys. There is my solder joints. I'm pretty happy with the 3/8 line. It's a nice, easy spot to get to. But the 3/4 inch line, it's good, but I mean, this one was difficult too because I had to solder right next to that, not unsolder it, not burn a hole in that pipe. But feels like on both of them, boy, that sucker's still hot. On both of them, get the camera out and look at the bottom, but they seem to be fairly good. See if you can see that. And then on this bottom one, how's that look? I got any holes down there? Don't believe so. We're gonna pressure test these bad boys with nitrogen now. All right, let's turn this nitrogen on and let's send it with the pressure. Going to start out with just a few pounds just in case there's a gaping hole. So that's 30 psi. Nothing obvious, so I'm going to continue on to 100 pounds. These look solid. Kind of embarrassed of that 3/4 line, but not embarrassed enough to not post it, obviously, so that'll be fine. Oh man, that stupid filter dryer. I've done started my pressure test, and I gotta replace that. I'm gonna go ahead and cut it out of the system. It's a Goodman where it's inside, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut that out of the system once I finish my pressure test. All right, and that is why we leak test, because I got a leak right there at the bottom of my 3/4 line, right where I was scared to get this 1/8 line too hot. I didn't pull the solder in good here, and it's leaking right there. So I'm gonna let the nitrogen out and retry. Alright, so we're going to stint that filter dryer with this beautiful piece of copper for two reasons. One, because nobody wants to, at least not me in this mess, try to do a solder joint that you can't see. So I've got that bottom copper swaged to where this pipe will sit down in there, and I can see my flare, I can see my swage joint, and I can see what in the world's happening. And then I can do the same thing for up there. And for two, nobody wants to replace a coil and have to pump the system completely down just to replace the filter dryer. I mean, not pump it down, but recover all the refrigerant. So doing this for myself and any future techs that may have to work on this refrigeration system. And I am putting it outside at the condenser. I'm not putting it up in the inside the house, because I truly do not believe it is that much better off being upstairs. But yeah, because I do not believe they're that much better off put up in the inside next to the indoor unit. I can see a case for you're out of the weather, but I very rarely see them in my climate rust out and leak at the filter dryer. I believe one time I've seen it, and that's just because a dog peed on it. And that, I mean, that it'll probably leak even if it was just copper, because that ammonia is bad for them. I mean, I'm sure you've seen them where dog pees on the outdoor coil and just destroys the whole thing. All right, set that down in there. Alright, another solder joint done, or two solder joints. A bit tough to get to, but it's in there, in place, and soldered, so I'm happy with them. I do not believe there's going to be a leak on them, even if they aren't the prettiest. But they're prettier than that solder joint. Whoever did that mess. One right there is ugly. So pull the filter dryer out of there. I'd say this right here is far enough away from the unit to not cause issues. Right there. I'd say about here.
You need to blow that up and leaks out of your way?
Yeah. Go ahead.
What's your
Alright.
You got it?
Yep. Alright, we got the fire hazard out the way.
Just the weight.
There we go. Perfect. Turn this where people can see it's a biflow, just in case. I know we're miles away from that service port, but I'm still going to put this gunk on here just to be on the safe side. If I burn that port up, being all the way out here, I'm a special kind of heat and air man. Side numero uno. Let that go down. I'm at a bit of an uphill angle, which I regret, but kind of the way the cookies fell on this one. Quit, but I'm gonna keep it going. Cause I can't leave good enough alone. Alright, we don't have a water hose, but that don't mean we can't. Alright, so after wrestling with that Goodman top, we finally got it back on. I'm going to go ahead and replace this capacitor, because anytime I replace a fan motor or a compressor, I like to replace the capacitor. And the compressors also like to replace this contactor. But they gave me a Titan Pro, which, you know, I got no worries with when I ordered the compressor. But I just rather use this AMRAD, just because I'm a firm believer in it. Even the weight. This AMRAD just is hefty. Yeah, they're heftier than this Titan Pro. It just
they're more made better.
Yeah, it feels more durable. And plus, I'm going to be putting a start kit on here, and the AMRAD has this fusible start capacitor terminal on it. So if the start capacitor ever sticks, instead of burning the compressor start winding, it's going to blow your CPT terminal and just disconnect it, which is a lot better than your compressor's start winding. And we're going to have to come back out and put we're going to put a crankcase heater on this new compressor just to help its longevity, because this first one, like I said, was only 6 years old. And I don't know if it died just because they ran it non-stop in this little shop, because this is a little break room that the doors are always opening and shutting on to the outside world, so it could have just been running non-stop, and that's what killed the compressor. But we're going to look at these refrigerant pressures when we get it in to see if there's anything obvious as to why this compressor would die. But we're going to put that crankcase heater in there just as a preventative measure. And we're also going to put a start capacitor on it, which I know that's a little bit a divisive topic. Some people hate start capacitors, some people love them. But this unit, the indoor unit, sitting about 10-15 feet above this outdoor condenser, so it's got a little bit of it takes a little bit more torque to get it started. And I personally am a fan of start capacitors. The only thing that I have a problem with is if that start relay sticks and you're constantly using your start capacitor as a run capacitor, and you burn out that start winding because you have way too many microfarads. But this joker should prevent that with this fusible hard start connection. And a lot of the times on these hard starts, you have a specific way it mounts. I'm not sure if it's on this one, but on my Train factory hard start kits, they have a little arrow and want you to put one side up. This is made very similar to that, but I do not see where it says that that's important. But the Train ones want to be mounted like that, so that's how I'm going to mount this one, just in case. All right, we're below 500 microns. I want to shut off the vacuum pump, do a decay test, and hope everything is pitch perfect. Then we're going to start charging her up. All right, let's just double check how much refrigerant this thing takes. She takes about 108 ounces. So 96 is 6 pounds. That's 12 extra pounds. So 6 pounds and 3/4 plus the line set. So let's start adding here. So we need at least 6 3/4 to start out with. Alright, we're going to put this acid scavenger in there because this was a burnout compressor. It wasn't a burnout compressor, it was a failed compressor, and the acid test came back fine, but I want to put this acid scavenger in there just in case. You never know with a bad compressor. And I know some people probably in the comments, which is good because I want to hear your opinion, would never reuse refrigerant when you want a compressor change out. But we're going to put this acid scavenger in there, and the way this stuff works, I believe, you can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but it kind of binds up the refrigerant that's acidic and traps it in the filter dryer. I mean, that's just a simplistic explanation that I've heard, and I could be wrong about that. But so you got to come back and check this filter dryer within a week or two, make sure it's going good, and replace it. Just because any acid that was in there would be in your filter dryer now. So we are almost, we got 6 pounds, 9 ounces. I'm just going to bring it to 6 pounds and 3/4, start her up, and then start adjusting the charge from there. Everything plugged in. We are going to have to come back to put that crankcase heater in. Johnstone did not have a factory crankcase heater for it, so we'll just have to wait on that. Other than that, I believe, no, the contactors aren't pulled in, but I'm gonna go inside. I'll go inside and turn her on. Man, these pressures are gonna look high. It is wintertime right now, but it's just a tiny little office space, and they got it's a small office space, and they have a space heater in there. They had the electric strip heat set to 70, but they had that little space heater turned up to 78, 79, so thermostat's reading 79 in there. But started up beautifully. The compressor's running. Our high side's up at 419 right now, which is, higher than we would normally expect to see it. Let's hook up our subcool and see what our hot gas is. Let's see. Alright, so I switched over to air conditioning mode since it was 62. My gauge is set up at 62 when I switched it over, but now that's our pressures in air conditioning mode. They look low. I mean, of course, it is 60 degrees out here. The thermostat says 75 and it is warm, but my probes are saying it's 65 inside, and I'm getting a split of 23, which is a little bit higher than what you would expect. But let me show you what these coolers look like. Let's see. This is a video I just took of them. Although I think I'll just put this video. So see that? That looks perfectly normal. One thing I wonder is there's a bunch of metal dust. You can see my arms covered in it, like coated the top of the unit. And I was wondering if sheetrock dust gets on it, coil like that. It's kind of hard to see because it looks nice and pretty, but it's inside the fins. I was wondering if we have some of that action going on. I'm gonna switch it back over to heat and see what my pressures look like. Alright, so she just kicked on heat mode. And the suction line's getting hot. My high side's climbing. Now, the difference between this time and the last time is now I have the fan set to high speed because it was barely blowing. And I'm fine leaving the fan at high speed because this unit has its ceiling registers and a ceiling return. And sometimes I've seen issues where if there's not enough velocity coming out of the vents in situations like that, the heat will never reach the bottom where the people are. The ceilings on this building aren't the highest, but I can still see it being an issue. But our high side is still climbing.
It could be these cords out here.
One thing that I've noticed, look how quickly that return temperature has risen from like 60 something, and now it's 76, 77. So that supply must be blowing out into that return. Let's go take a look. We're at 437 right now. Well, there's the return. And here's the supply. There's 2 rooms on this thing, I believe. And that's blowing kind of out at a flat angle over to here. I've got my probe up into that return. So that's one issue, but I don't know that's the main issue. Alright, so we found the issue. That coil inside had a bunch, it looked clean, but it had metal dust in it. We took an air hose the best we could and sprayed it out, and these are the pressures that we're left with. They're decent pressures, especially for how hot it is inside and how warm it is outside. But we're still going to recommend that he gets that coil pulled out and cleaned thoroughly, because that we just did a down and dirty cleaning with that air compressor, which it worked great, but it just needs to really be cleaned. As you can see, our numbers are very okay for what this is. Brand new compressor. I'm not worried about leaving it in here and it damaging the compressor, although now I'm sure that is what killed the last one. Like I said, 6 years old, and all that dust on the coil is going to slug the compressor in the summertime with liquid, and in the wintertime it's going to have to work twice as hard because the pressure is going to be a lot higher, and that compression ratio raises, and that is hard on the compressor. So for right now, we are a-okay. I'm going to leave it at this and clean up, get on to the next one.